Hello, welcome back to another episode of D54. I'm back with Mr. Sunny. How you going, man?
I'm going well, man. How's things?
Not bad, not bad. We've been going pretty good. Watched a movie that was pretty intense.
Yeah,
this one was something else.
this was emotional, full on, hard hitting. So many words.
Definitely, man. This one was So if you're wondering where we got this movie from, I had put out a poll, and this one I think came second, and we had done the one already. So check out our videos; you can watch that one. But essentially, this one came second, and I had a few comments saying that you have to watch this one because it's something you see Mammootty in a whole different way, and can't argue with that.
Yeah, that's right. This is unlike anything we've seen from Mammootty.
Yeah, that's saying a lot considering how much we've sort of seen of this guy. Like we've seen quite a few of his movies, but yet still continues to do something different. Yeah, exactly right. So the movie is Paleri Manikyam. So basically, I don't know, man, but it's like it's based on a novel, based on a true crime story. It's got a completely different look and feel to it. The way they've done this is just. I just think like structurally it's different, cinematically it's different. Like it really feels like it's just from a different world altogether.
100%.
But what were your sort of general thoughts about this one, man? Just keeping it broad.
Yeah, I mean, broadly, this film, like from the very first scenes, just had me hooked, man. Like this was. I had no idea what was in for. I wasn't even expecting kind of the graphic nature of those opening scenes. I was just like, this is very different. I was not prepared for it. And the mystery just kept me hooked. As you introduce more characters, as you introduce more complexity and levels of like intrigue, I was just wanting to get to the end and understand what exactly happened in these two murder cases. Like I was absolutely stunned. And then you overlay that with an amazing set of performances from Mammootty playing like three characters. Man, this had so much going for it. An amazing premise, great acting. I was engrossed from start to end.
Yeah, this is probably one that I'm going to say this is one of the most unique ones we have seen. Yeah. And I say that almost every time, but
this is different.
One I think is this one is definitely different. Like this one just felt really different because like even from the onset, like I mean Mammootty is there, but he's like honestly, man, like we'll get to some of the scene reactions. This felt like a documentary sometimes. Like especially the first half with the way he's sort of standing and looking to the camera and talking.
Yes.
The amount of exposition done by sort of his narration on top of stuff, as well as exposition in the sort of first half as well. Exactly. They've really doubled down on that more than what I had seen before.
Yes.
Now I was pretty okay with it, but it was one that I'm going to say like it was definitely a harder watch. Yes. One, because of what you mentioned before about the graphic nature of it. Like it was just such a tough subject and they didn't hold back on really borderline showing us like how brutal it was. Like, they didn't shy away. They didn't hide any of the scenes. Like, they went as graphical as they could. And yeah, it does have like, I did read, it has something like it received an A certificate or something like that. Upon the release of the movie, it got an A certificate due to its violent and adult content. So it's probably for mature audiences. I'm guessing A content is similar to probably like a, I don't know, MA 15 plus or something like that. Or like an R rating. Yeah. But it's interesting. Before we get into some of the scenes and stuff, man, I want to read out some stuff to give us some context about this movie. Because it's, again, it's really interesting in that because also the premise of this movie is just, it is based on real life. And we have seen some movies that are based on sort of real life scenarios take us all the way back to Jana Gana Mana. That was like a culmination of like real life incidents and also kind of similar, but look at how that was shot. That was very dramatic and cinematic, whereas this was completely different. Like
not stylized or anything.
No, there's no court case in this one to take the narrative. This is just like real life, and there's timeline jumping as well. But essentially, so this movie, to start with, I'll just give it the sort of what it's based on. It's based on a novel of the same name by T.P. Rajeevan, which said the true story of the first recorded murder case in Kerala. That's crazy. So 1950s was the first recorded murder case. So I'm guessing that's probably when the state started to form more of like a police sort of state, maybe?
Yes.
And that's when they were, because obviously there was murders before then, but this is the first recorded one. So that just tells me
investigation kind of, law enforcement getting involved.
India's independence was 1947, so this is in the 1950s. So yeah, it must have just come basically after that, like when India became its own, independent country, and Kerala became its own independent state. This was recorded, so it's pretty interesting to. Yeah, it's interesting that he made a book based on the first murder case and the amount of research he must have done to doing this. It'd be a fascinating book to read, to be honest.
Amazing, yeah. I mean,
so much.
I think the fact that it's that first recorded murder case is one really interesting element. And then you put on top of that just an amazingly complex and disturbing premise here. Like, what a first example to look into, right? Like, it has all the hallmarks of something that would be a great story.
Definitely. Like, are you into the true crime genre? Like, do you?
I am interested, yeah. I do. I
That's
listen to a lot of true crime podcasts and stuff. So I always feel slightly guilty about enjoying those kind of things, but it is. I like the police procedural stuff and getting to the bottom of things, and in that sense, knowing that it's true puts this movie to another level for me.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised this hasn't been covered by more like true crime, like I guess podcasters or true crime documentaries. I haven't seen like a Netflix version cover this or something like that, because Netflix do have like a whole series on they have a couple series on true crime because it's such a big genre. So I'm surprised this hasn't been more in the mainstream somehow. I don't know. It feels like it's just there for the taking. Like, you can make like a 4-part series out of this or something like that, detailing it because of how disturbing it is. But also, obviously, Mammootty plays 3 characters in the film, and we see that, and that is incredible. Yeah. But something that's just as incredible, the film was Mythili's debut in cinema, and she was fantastic. But Ranjith, the director, also introduced about 30 Malayalam stage actors throughout the film. And that is pretty incredible. And it is an ensemble cast, I feel like, because there are so many characters in this.
Panorama so many characters. Yes.
Yeah. And really the only recognizable ones for us that we noticed was basically Mammootty and Sreenivasan playing a completely different role. After just seeing him in Nadori Katha.
Yeah. This is
so much fun.
Yeah.
He's playing someone else. So, crazy.
It's impressive though, like, because I didn't know that, but I was observing that all the performance in this movie is top notch. Even the people who are on screen for 2 minutes versus, half an hour, across the board, amazing performances, not a single weak point in that. And I guess that's just representative of the fact you had very high quality actors taking part in this film.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to get onto some of those because we have some pretty cool reactions where we're going to see them again and sort of relive that. Because, they were pretty impressive. Like, the Malayalam film industry keeps impressing me with this specific thing. Like, it reminds me of Angamali Diaries, where there was like so many debutante actors in that movie. And this movie is sort of another example of that. Like, they're all sort of theater artists, so you can sort of see that they definitely have the emotions. They can really bring out the emotion, and we see that again and again. Even like I've got to give a special mention to the actresses as well. Both of them played really complex characters.
Yes.
Especially the main lady. I think she was really good, Shweta Menon, who won her first Kerala State Award. Like, that was a very complicated character for her to play. It was not straightforward.
Who goes on her own complete journey throughout the course of this film without necessarily having to say a lot or being on screen a whole lot, but there's emotion behind those eyes, and that it's got such a weight of history, her character. She was amazing and held her own beside Mammootty.
Yeah. Now she feels like she's carrying that trauma with her the whole way through. But before we get on to the sort of the scenes, just one more. The film won 4 Kerala State Film Awards, including the Best Filmfare Award. Mammootty won his 5th Kerala State Award. So this is number 5 for Mammootty.
Yes.
The Best Actor, playing 3 roles. Ahmed Haji, Haridas, and Khalid Ahmed in this movie. So he's definitely brought it all. And how different was each role? Like, I mean, the role of Ahmed Haji and Haridas they're the 2 main ones. Khalid Ahmed is kind of like Khalid Ahmed is kind of like a last minute throw in, it feels like, but the other 2 are like they're basically throughout the movie and I don't know if they're complete opposites because there are some similarities in sort of the Haridas' character, which I was surprised by. But I mean, the way that they were on screen, it was just worlds apart.
100%.
Yeah. But man, let's get into some of the scene reactions because I think we have some pretty good ones.
Brutal scene.
Damn, man. Yeah, I wanted to show this guy. He was impressive as well.
He was really good, yeah. He was great as well.
Oh, yeah, man. The raw emotion. That's disturbing, man.
So graphic at times. And I love all of this. It's all just communicating through eyes, right? And looking.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. You can feel the tension in the room, right?
100%, yes. And the music works beautifully to establish that as well.
എടുക്കാൻ 2 പറയമാരെയും വേണം. ഒരു തോണി ഏർപ്പാടാക്കണം.
ആരും വേണ്ട ശബാനെ. ഞാളെ പെണ്ണിനെ ഞാടിന്റെ എടുത്തോളൂ. ഏടേക്കാച്ചാലു. ഓക്കി ദുര്യോഗം വന്നേന് ഒരു തുമ്പുണ്ടാക്കി തന്നാ മതി.
എന്നാ വേഗം നോക്ക്. ഇപ്പൊ പുറപ്പെട്ട നേരം വെളുക്കുമ്പോ വടകര എത്താം.
Just quickly before we carry on, I wanted to actually spend some time talking about, because we did mention, you did say something, even if they're only on for like 2 minutes. Like, I mean, this guy was on for, I don't know, maybe, 5 minutes maximum. But, I mean, just in those 2 scenes there, you get to see, like, I mean, he looks like somebody that's lost, his sister, and the amount of emotion that's in that room. You mentioned that great point. It's just communicated just through the eyes and the tears and the body language. Nothing has to be said at all. But his performance at the center of it holds everything together, I feel. Like, it's so good.
It is amazing, man. Like, the heartbreak in his, like, just face and the wailing, it kind of affects you and you feel so much pain for this character. That's the first time you see him and you basically don't see him for the rest of the movie, right? But you immediately understand the gravity of this loss. And I just felt like that. Obviously, we weren't alive in the 50s, but that felt like a real representation of how that scene would play out. Like, just people in a room, the mother, the kind of in-laws are there and relatives come in and everyone's just sitting quietly trying to process things. That felt like just how it would go down in a small village in northern Kerala, right? I wasn't there, obviously, at the time, but it all feels so real. And that ability to transport you to this time and place is another amazing quality of this film, the world building again, right? Like, you feel you understand this place of Paleri. But yeah, the emotional stakes here, man. Like, this happens pretty early on in the movie and you are so invested. You already feel so much for the loss of Manikyam, and then you already feel a sense of dread, curiosity, slight suspicion of the Cheru character. You don't know exactly what her role is here in this, and she doesn't give it away either. Like, she's perfectly calibrated in the performance, right? She's sad. She's devastated about what's happened, but she's also looking around wondering, what are people thinking right now? So much being conveyed, and you realize that the second time you watch these scenes, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And the music just also adds to that. It's very different. It is kind of understated, the music. Like, nothing feels like it's over the top, which is a really hard thing to do in these kind of scenes, because you can easily dial it up just a bit too much.
So easily.
And then it becomes like almost like it takes you out of the element of what's happening.
Just tells you, hey, now it's time to be sad.
Yeah, this is like a haunting sound, and just it starts to build that mystery already around it. So, and shout out to this actress playing it, just being dead. Like, I mean, I don't know how hard it is to do that, but I can imagine just being around so many people and just being still. I don't know. It's a special kind of skill set.
Yeah, that is impressive. That's. And I love the kind of police discussion at the start here as well, and you're getting a sense of the actual procedural elements of investigating a crime back in the day, which is also just really interesting. Yeah,
no, it's a great they really take us back in time for this one, to the 50s, to show what it's like.
Yes.
But yeah, let's sort of see how this goes. Again, beautiful scenery too.
It is gorgeous landscape. Look at that.
Yeah,
oh
that's
my God.
amazing. Very distinct cinematic style. The slow
Yes.
motion over the top. I've not seen it used so much.
No, that's right. Yeah, I didn't pick that up the first time. I think this does such a good job of showing you kind of the village life here. Everyone kind of knows each other. This is a major event. It's
And how much has impacted everybody, right?
yes. This transition is actually straight up amazing.
It is.
ദിവസത്തെ ദൈർഘ്യം അത്രയും നാളെ മാണിക്യം പാലേരിൽ
It's
ജീവിച്ചു.
looking at us like.
Yeah. Just straight in the camera.
Yeah. I honestly have not seen that before. Like it's,
No.
that's a part that really makes me like. That's what I feel like this movie. Like even some of the cinematic style. It's I don't know if the director did research on like popular documentaries or things like that, because the way it's shot with those like slow motion takes and things like that, it's almost like from like the history documentaries that you see on like
yeah.
Netflix or like History Channel or like BBC where
Nature
they like, have
documentaries,
somebody
like-
talking.
Yeah. It's like David Attenborough in the foreground
Correct.
looking at some scene,
Yeah.
and explaining it.
Yeah. That Mammootty part especially was like that. But even before then, when they're sort of showing the walking and stuff like that, I could just imagine that with just voiceover going like
Yes.
that. That's why I
Yes.
felt this movie is so distinct in its
Yes.
directional style. Like we've seen some great directors, but everything feels like a movie. This, for some reason, at times did not even feel like a movie. I felt like I mean, that scene there is the ending is just like that. You don't see that in a movie. Like somebody just
No.
stopping in the middle of the scene, just looking at you and talking to you and telling you the facts.
Yes.
It's not done. Looking at the camera is not something you see that often, unless it's done
No.
for comedic reasons, like breaking the fourth wall, which
Yes.
this kind of is in a way.
I mean, it
but
kind of
not
is, yeah.
really. It's just so different in that it's factual.
Yes.
So
That's
you know,
a great observation, man. There is elements of this that are very much like a documentary. You're just being fed information about what's happening, and then that's your launching point for then just the investigation when Haridas actually goes back to Paleri. And this is all about kind of the setup to that journey, and then him actually going and speaking to the people who are still alive from that time to understand, get to the bottom of the case. But yeah, that documentary style is very unique. It's in a way like part of me wished that there was a better way to tell that story, because these are really interesting bits of information Mammootty is throwing at the audience.
Yeah.
I kind of wish it could have been done in a, I don't know, more artful way. But at the same time, this movie is so dense. There's so much information to convey that if you were going to do it another way, this is going to be like a 4-hour film, probably.
Yeah.
So
Definitely true. It is like, I think if Hollywood was to adapt this, it would definitely be a 4-part series, or probably a 4-part series or something like that. Is what I would think would be the convention in that, because I just think that, like it is sometimes a bit hard to sort of get through, because as I said, the information is so dense. And I feel like, guys, honestly, I think both of us are in the same boat. We tried our best to follow along the story as much as we could.
Yeah.
But I'm going to guess there are parts, because I was like, it's so crucial to remember everybody's name in this movie, because sometimes when they're referencing somebody, I'm like, wait, who's that? Like, whose character are they talking about now? And who's this new character in the, I guess the current time when they bring back an older character? It takes a while to realize who this actual person is.
Yes.
So it's interesting. We haven't seen any movies from this director.
No.
Ranjith, I'm just saying he has a pretty extensive filmography. He's made movies all the way back from 1987. So, guys, would love to know more information about this director. Again, I'm not familiar with him, but looking at this and how much attention to detail he puts into this, along with sort of the writers and everything like that, they must have spent so much time just putting this together. But it's incredible.
The innovativeness of that shows that it's a very experienced director. Like the fact that there's one boat in that scene we just stopped taking her body away for investigation, and another one when she first comes into Paleri. Like that's beautifully done, right? Like the end of life, start of a new life, and Mammooty's then kind of going back in time and standing there and witnessing these two events and narrating it. That is so innovative, man, and so
it really is.
like thoughtfully done. That's brilliant.
Definitely. No, it's pretty impressive. It looks like I think I'll just fact check myself. He's been around since 1987, but he is somebody that's a director, producer, screenwriter, writing the story, actor as well. So
there you go. Another very multi-talented Malayalam industry.
He's done it all. But yeah, guys in the comment section, let us know what other movies of his we should check out, because I mean we're on board. This is a great one to start with. But definitely, man. But in a similar vein to what we had, let's continue on.
അറിഞ്ഞതല്ലേ മാനെ, കണ്ടതാ. അന്ന് കുറ്റ്യാടിയിൽ നാടകം കാണാൻ മാണിക്യം പുറപ്പെട്ട് കുഞ്ഞാറിനെ കാണാനും അയാളോടൊപ്പം പോവാനും വേണ്ടിട്ടേനു. നാടകം നടന്ന സ്ഥലത്ത് ഓളി ചെല്ലാണ്ടായപ്പോ കുഞ്ഞാറ് മീത്തലച്ചാലേ വന്ന്.
This little scene where they tell the different versions, I thought was impressive.
കഴിഞ്ഞു വന്ന പൊക്കം കാണുന്നത് ആ കാഴ്ച.
മാണിക്കേ, ഞാൻ കല്യാണം കഴിച്ച് കൊല്ലും കേട്ടില്ല ഞാൻ.
This guy was equally as impressive, man.
Like he went from being like a somewhat deranged character, being just such a sad and broken man. This is one of those other scenes where the camera just lingered like 30 seconds too long, and you're like, oh my god, I can't see this.
Yeah, it's surprised they went this far. Just showed this kind
of went back again, and now they're showing like take 2 of it.
I mean, it's traumatizing, to be honest. It's a tough watch.
It was a tough watch, and I wonder how representative, or if it was revolutionary at the time, or a real shock to the system, like we find it to be.
ശരിക്കും ആ പെണ്ണിന് ഗർഭം ഉണ്ടായിനോ? നായിന്റെ മോനെ, ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ചോദിച്ചു തുടങ്ങിയ നീ എന്തെങ്കിലും നക്കി തിന്നിട്ട് പോരാ നോക്ക്. നന്റെ തീയത്തിയുടെ പരിക്കളല്ലോ ഇവിടെ നടത്തിയത് അല്ല. എന്നാ ചേലക്കണ്ട, മനസ്സിലായോ?
Yes, just don't hold back. Like we're going to see something else pretty graphic here.
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is shocking.
Yeah.
നാടകം കഴിഞ്ഞ് വരുന്ന വഴിയാടാ, ഒന്ന് കേറിയിട്ട് പോവാന്ന്.
ഇനി വേണ്ടടോ, നേരം കുറെ ആയില്ലേ.
ഞാളവിടെ കണ്ട കാര്യം ഇനി ആരോടും പറയണ്ട.
അമ്മയോടും പറയണ്ട.
It's brutal, man.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. That is impressive. That scream.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. There's horror elements to this, man. This is
definitely. It's transformed.
Oh yeah, and see, completely different.
ഞാൻ അമ്മ വന്നോ നോക്കാൻ വന്നതാ.
അമ്മ ഒന്നും വന്നിട്ടില്ല. അവരെ പോലീസുകാർ വിട്ടിട്ടില്ല. ദുർമരണം നടന്ന വീടാടാ. ഇവിടെ അങ്ങനെ ഒറ്റയ്ക്ക് ഇരിക്കണ്ട.
ആ പേടിയില്ല കേശവട്ട, നിക്കോളെ പേടിയില്ല. ഓൾ എന്നൊന്നും ചെയ്യില്ല. പകല് വന്നാല് ആൾക്കാർ ഓരോന്ന് ചോദിച്ചോണ്ടിരിക്കും. എനക്കൊന്നും പറയാൻ അറിഞ്ഞൂടാ. ഞാൻ എന്ത് പറഞ്ഞാലും തെറ്റിപ്പോവും.
This guy's such a good actor. I don't know if he's done anything else. It's incredible.
And again, someone who's not really there for the second half of the film, but he has such an impact when he's on screen.
എന്താ മോനെ, ഇങ്ങക്ക് ചത്തുപോലെ കാണും കഴിയുന്നല്ലോ എല്ലാരും പറയുന്നത്.
പിന്നോ നിക്ക് കാണാ, എന്റെ തീയനെയും ചത്തുപോയ മക്കളെയും കാണാ.
ഇങ്ങക്ക് ഓളെ കാണാൻ കഴിയാ?
ആര്?
എന്റെ മാണിക്കത്തിന.
ചത്തിട്ട് അധികം ആയില്ലല്ലോ മോനെ. പരലോകമൊക്കെ കണ്ടിട്ട് അവിടുന്ന് ഇങ്ങോട്ട് വരണ്ടേ, അപ്പൊ ഓളെ എനിക്ക് കാണാനാവും.
അങ്ങനെ കാണുമ്പോ നിങ്ങൾ ഓളോടൊരു കാര്യം ചോദിക്കുക.
ആരാ ഓളെ കൊന്നെന്ന്.
Oh my god, man.
It just haunts him.
Oh. Yeah, man. I mean, it's just, guys, we are going to get to Mammootty. Don't worry. I know that's what everyone's waiting for, to see those scenes. We're going to get there, but I feel like it's important to, like the movie does, also let the time breathe and give credit to some of the other people that have made this movie pretty amazing, including this guy right here. Again, I do think he is kind of the strongest character in the first half, just in that little snapshot, he does so much. And we even had the other scene before where he's almost like, I thought something was like off with him, like mentally. Like I thought he was
he's described as kind of like the village idiot sort of thing. Correct. That's how he's introduced, and his hair and everything kind of suggests that. But he's obviously a sane person who is distraught about what has happened, and the transformation of his character in the space of like 20 minutes is remarkable.
Definitely, man. It's pretty impressive. No, I was really taken back by some of these scenes here when he's just looking into the camera once again in a different way, and he's just sort of crying there. Like, they really like. I mean, you have to trust your actors a lot, especially people that haven't like debuted and stuff like that, or haven't done too much movie work, to just put the camera straight up in your face and tell you to do something, and then that is so crucial because there's no other story. There's nothing else. It's just relying on the person's facial expressions. And this guy knocked it out of the park, like with what he's doing with this one on multiple occasions.
And those characters, it is so impressive because there is other characters we spend more time with where I feel like we don't get the same amount of emotional connection. Like even the Haridas character, like very interesting, but he doesn't have the same emotional impact as this guy has, right? Because he's gone through something tragic. You almost feel more connection to him than to Haridas. You obviously learn more about him as the film goes on, but the emotional impact that this character has is far greater than some of the other characters who we spend more time with. And just, again, that props to the performance of this actor who's able to do so much with so little. What I also loved about these scenes is just random snippets of people from the village. You're not told who they are, right? He's speaking to this older lady about, she can speak to spirits or something. And then there's these other two villagers who are giving their version of what happened. And there's no explanation as to who these people are. But that's not important because they're just part of the panorama, the makeup of the village, right? These are people you interact with on a day-to-day basis, and you don't need more time to spend with them. It's just, this is the village person. This is the lady who speaks to the spirits. And I just love that the way that they've fleshed out this kind of story to make it about the entire village and not just about Haridas and the couple of characters who are intricately involved in the murders.
Yeah. Now, there are a few characters like that. There's the other one in just the other scene, it's a Swamiji or something like that. Who's when they're pouring the liquor or whatever it is with him while he's eating. And then there's another one where it's another kind of ritual where someone's pouring like some kind of sacred water and telling somebody to drink it and they'll be okay. So I don't know who's just helping us to understand the sort of time and place that we're in and sort of what is sort of, I guess, the go-to for maybe medicine back then. I'm not sure if that's what it was in the community. We don't see doctors and stuff like that. The only official organization we see is the police, essentially. That come in. Like even the funeral, there's not really a funeral scene. It's just taken on a boat. There's no priest that comes in. There's no nothing like that, right? So it's a bit different like that. But what did you think of like you mentioned about Haridas's character? Because it was interesting. Mammootty is not really the star until basically the second half when it takes over. But what did you think of, I guess, not just him, but how this sort of first half unfolded? Like it was pretty different, right? In the way it was done. Like it was like it felt like it was just, I mean, there was a lot of exposition and a lot of sort of detailing about what's going on. Did you sort of like the way it was going? Were you able to follow it? Was there pacing issues? What kind of, how did you feel about it?
I think overall I was kind of always hooked. I just love the premise of this. I like what I was thinking was going to be a police procedural. I liked getting into the details and the world building. So I was hooked on that part. I did think that was a bit too heavy on the exposition though. I wish they had just done that a slightly different way because there are vast swathes of the first 40 minutes where Mammootty is talking to the camera, or he's talking to his detective colleague, the lady. I forget her name, but he's basically just telling her about the case. And we're kind of like that lady where the recipients of all of this information. And so I kind of wish they'd found a different way to portray that. It was a bit more, in a bit more interesting way. Like maybe we could have just started in the 50s and seen that all play out, and then we could catch up with Haridas at this time in Paleri doing the investigation. Yeah. Or there's other ways that could have done it, but I guess, you know, the director chose this way, and it was an efficient way to get across all of the information that we needed to, because everything just ramps up in the second half of this film. Like it goes from kind of 50 to 100 very quickly as soon as you have the second Mammootty character, Haji, introduced, and the full-blown investigation starting. Yeah. And so maybe you needed kind of a more mellow scene setting exercise from the Mammootty character, Haridas. But yeah, look, I was hooked, but I kind of had wished the exposition was done in a more creative way, because there are definitely creative elements to this film, and I would love to have seen that kind of creative lens brought to that part of the story.
Yeah, Haridas's character was interesting in how they did that, because you're right, they could have just started the movie at that point, but I do think, I think they try to juggle quite a bit in this one. So aside from